Hi guys, Victoria here for Beyond Paper with Victoria. Today I'm going to be creating the potion book that I did for the potion bottle launch. I wasn't sure whether to do the tutorial or not for you. On a previous video I have shown you the finished book with the potion bottles inside, and also the basic construction of, well, I say basic construction, the whole full tutorial for the potion bottle. So today I'm just going to be going through with you the measurements for that book and putting the book together, but we're not going to be decorating it, guys. I'll show you all the things that I've used to decorate it, but I think time-wise and letting paint dry, etc., would take too long, and maybe I'd have to come and do it back in several parts. So I'm just going to go through all the measurements of all the pieces of card that I've used, how I've put it together, and the ingredients that we've used to decorate it. Okay, guys? So, without further ado, I'm using my score pal today just because it's my chosen scoreboard for doing huge projects. So, got all these pieces of card here. We will put it together. So, you will need a piece of A4 cardstock, and we're not going to take anything off its length at all. Okay, and basically we're going to score down. So basically this is, I should start again really, shouldn't I? Put my teeth in, Vicky. This is full length of A4, and it's 8 1/4 in depth. So it's your A4 piece of cardstock, and what we've done is we've scored down at 2 1/4. We've come down then at 9 1/4, and then we've come down then again at the 2 1/4 here. So this border all the way around is 2 1/4. Okay, we're going to do the same again same piece of card again, but we're taking off these two side tabs here. So see that? You're going to cut those two side pieces off. And then what's going to happen is one will sit inside the other. And then that is going to create your box. Okay? So we'll move on to the next part. You're then going to need a cover for your box. So this measures 8 1/4 by 7. Okay? 8 1/4 by 7 inches. And across the 8 1/4, we're going to come down at 2 1/4. So we're making that hinge. You might want to go slightly over 2 1/4 if you're doing it on another scoreboard, or just move it over slightly and then come in a little bit further over, just so that you've got that kind of space for the page coming over your box. Because sometimes when you're coming over something, it takes away some of the card. So that might be a good idea. So, are you with me so far? You're going to need a piece of cardstock then measuring 6 inches by 7 inches. And that is a mat to go on the front of your book. So, there we have the page. There we have a mat to go on the front there. Now, if you want to, you could have that a fraction smaller and do a mat and layer. I just wanted to reinforce the page, and I wanted to be able to decorate on this and add it to the book afterwards. Okay. You're then going to need a piece of cardstock that measures 3 3/4 by 7. And you want to put a score line in at 1/2 inch, flip it 1/2 inch, and then you want to shape this then around the edge of your desk to get that curve. And then these glue tabs will be glued to the edge of your book cover, so that will give you that curve that you would see on the end of a book. Okay. We're then going to need 3 pieces of cream cardstock. Now this could be gold, it could be any colour that you want it to be. So this is going to measure 6, she says, 6 3/4. My brain, honest to God, this morning, by 2. So 6 3/4 by 2, and then on this scoreboard you have all these little increments, and you want to go down with your scoring tool like so and put all those in all the way down, and this gives you that page look. So when this is inked, this will become more visible, and we're going to distress it to look like pages. So you need 1 of those, and then you need 2 pieces measuring again 2 inches by 5 3/4. 2 inches by 5 3/4, and you're going to do exactly the same again. You're going to put those marks in so that we can distress these for the pages. Now you're going to need 2 of these, and this is in the black cardstock again. So these are going to measure 7 inches by 1 inch, and you're going to score down at 1/2 inch. Do that on both pieces. Okay. You then want another 2 pieces that are going to measure 5 3/4 inches, again by 1 inch, and you're going to score down at 1/2 inch. Those are going to go inside the box to add as a reinforcement for when your cover comes over. We're then going to cut a piece of cardstock that is 3/4 inch by roughly 5 1/2 inches, and then you're going to put a score line in at 2 1/4, and you're going to just cut a point at the end. So this is going to be our little buckle and strap. You need another piece of cardstock that's going to measure 3 1/2 inches by 1 inch, and across the longest section we want to come in and we want to score at 1 inch. We want to come in and score 1/4 inch, and then we want to come in, so that's 1 inch, 1 1/4, 2 1/4, 2 1/2. Okay, and then this will give you that buckle for your strap to go through. Okay, now inside, as an extra feature, I have done a little set of drawers. So you need 2 pieces of cardstock that is going to measure 3 3/4 square, and then you're going to come in and you're going to score 1 inch on all 4 sides. So 3 3/4 square, and score at 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, and so on. And then you're going to cut up each intersecting score line and take out a little slice of cake, as I like to say. You need 2 of those. Okay, you're then going to need a piece of cardstock that measures 2 1/2 by 2. Okay, 2 1/2 by 2. On the 2 1/2 length, you want to come in and score at 1/4 inch on each side to give you a little glue tab. Okay, and as you can see, this would rest on the box there, and we're going to glue it inside to the sleeve. So the sleeve measures, and you could make your own matchbox, you know, this is just an idea. So this whole length of card is just slightly over 9 inches, so let's call it 9 inches, and it's then 2, just slightly over 2, it's not even kind of 2 1/8, it's in between. So we want to score then at 2 1/4. We want to score in at 4 1/4. We want to score in at 6 1/2, and then we want to score in at 8 well, that's kind of like in between, so let's call it 8.5. So you will find your own measurements. This is just a rough guide as to how I made mine. I made it a few weeks ago, didn't write any of the measurements down, wasn't going to do a tutorial, and then I thought better of it. So this is going to be the sleeve. So our little matchbox would fit in there. That would then glue inside, and then this one would go in the front, and you'd add little brads to the fronts of the drawers. Okay. So I'm now going to put the scoreboard away. We're done with that. There will be some matting layers, as in if you want to line inside the box, but we're just going to go ahead and make the box itself. So, like I said to you, we have this A4 piece. We've cut that section off there, each side, and then we're going to place this one inside this one. Okay, so I'm going to use my deluxe adhesive today, and we'll go for the big boy. So we're going to add glue all the way underneath. Apologies if we're not completely in shot there, guys, but it's a huge piece of card we're fitting in. And then this goes right into the crease on this side. Make sure that each side lifts. I'm happy with that placement. And then what we're going to do, I've got all these pieces of paper with measurements on. Dear me. See, as a rule, Vicky just makes what she wants to make, then it's whatever size is whatever size. And then I forget that you guys might want to make it. I think it's probably because I always think that you probably don't want to make it. And then I get a surprise, a few messages saying, I want the measurements, please. Right, so that is the two bases stuck together. So we're going to bring in these sides and we're going to glue those to there, to there. So again, glue on this section and then bring that up. And then if you've got pegs, you can put little pegs on here just to hold it, but the glue grabs quite quickly. And we're going to repeat the same process on all four corners. Okay. And bring that down. And then I'm going to repeat the same on this end, and hopefully we'll be more in shot now because we're going smaller. And then bring that up. And take your time. The thing is, you want to really enjoy making a project like this. I mean, you might actually do something very similar and adapt the measurements to suit your own needs. I did this measurement just one night, just bum out it went, and like I said, I never wrote the measurements down, and now I've had to think about it. But you might want it deeper, you might want it shallower, you might not want it as long, you might want to put just the normal size potion bottles in. This size, I elongated the bottle, so we've got a larger bottle, the bottle as it is, and then we made a shorter bottle to sit on the drawers. Okay, and you know, like, you can cut things down and elongate things. So that is now the basis of your box. Okay, so as you'll see, we have done that piece. Now, as you see, that would fall through, wouldn't it? That's no good. That's not going to support anything, is it? So this is where your strips come in. So we've got these longer pieces. We're going to put adhesive on those. And then this is going to be placed on the inside. Oop. Inside of your box there. And just hold that. add the one on the opposite side. And then place him in there. There we go. I just love how a piece of cardstock can develop into something I absolutely adore that about crafting. Does it not amaze you sometimes when you look at the makes and you think, blimey, that just started life out as a flat piece of cardstock and look at it now. So then you've got these end pieces, and I'm going to slot these through that gap, and then I'm going to overlap them onto the bottom of there. Okay, so again, add the glue, slide that in, and I will explain how I did the decoration, don't worry. It's just it would take far too long on a video, because I did use paints and all sorts of things, and then left it to dry, and then went back in and had another play. So slide that one down through those gaps, and again just press those in. Kind of go in mixed media when you're decorating this, but you don't have to. It's completely up to you, you know, how far you want to go with it. You might just want to make the box and not want to you know, grunge it up. So we're just going to hold those corners now. And you can already see it coming together, can't you guys? So then a little bit of glue on the corner. And then on the opposite one. And you could actually cut a frame if you want to cut a frame for this on your paper trimmer to hide the joins. But to be honest, I've put like cobwebs on the corners and things, so you're not really going to see that. And I don't think it looks unsightly anyway, to be fair. So there you have the starts of your box there. Okay, so now when we add the spine to the side, that has a resting point. Okay, so it's not going to fall inside the box. So that said, we shall add the book cover. Okay, and then add him to there. Make sure we're all lined up. And there is your book cover. There we go. So you can bend it back a little bit when you know it's dry. All right. So you could, if you wanted to, wrap another piece across the back and then have it so it didn't stick to this part here, so that it opened up a little bit more if you wanted it to. But I'm quite happy with how that opens up. Okay, so let's put these, or we'll add the spine. We'll add the spine. So you add this piece of card with the 1/2 inch score line each side. So basically we've curved it slightly on the edge of the desk, and we want to apply one side at a time. So that just adds to the edge there. Okay, and we'll just make sure that that is well and truly stuck before we move on. So whilst we're letting that dry, we'll put the little set of drawers together. So I have this little box, all right. So let's glue him. Again, if you've got little pegs, use your little pegs until everything's dried. On all four corners till we've made a little mini kind of matchbox type of thing. And then press him in and him in. Okay. Now we've got this little wrap. Okay. So we're going to add adhesive to that score. Okay. So it's just a little sleeve. Sure that's well and truly stuck together before we move on. So now we have one drawer. So I'm going to place this drawer into position with that top piece on, and yet that fits like a glove. So I'm going to add glue. It's just a lazy way of doing it, to be honest. So we're going to place this inside, bring that down, and then we're just going to pinch it. You can actually take the drawer then out whilst you hold it and pinch it underneath. It just gives you that right spacing that you're after for your drawers to slide in. Proof in the pudding. So what you'd want to do now is decorate the front and add a little brad or a little handle. Okay, and then that would nestle, turn him the right way, that would nestle then inside. Now if you bring that down, you'll not be able to open the drawers. So I did actually add a back panel onto mine, and I raised it up so that it glued down there so I could still open the drawers. Okay, but you might want to put legs on it or whatever you want. You don't have to add a back panel if you don't want to. If you make the drawers slightly wider, you could actually possibly glue them to the side there, but I think I'm sure I've put a back panel on mine, and I've glued it around about there. Okay, brain's foggy and I've slept since then. But then we're going to add this spine, and then we're going to bring this down, and then obviously it will find that curved position, and then I'm going to hook one finger in one end and the other and just press down until it has grabbed. Okay, when I know each end's grabbed, I'll then go in with the bone folder and go down each side. But the chest of drawers is optional. You don't have to add those if you don't want to. You might have a little die set that is like a little matchbox, and I'm sure we had one in a kit many moons ago. So if you're a kit subscriber, you will have one of those. I think it was either a kit or it was oh, what was it called now? Designer's Choice. So it could have been a kit or Designer's Choice, I forget now. So now you have your cover. So you're going to go away, you're going to decorate this cover, and then you're going to bring it to the book. I actually did a little diamond which, you know, if you've got your basic shapes from Tonic, a diamond layered, and then I added a tassel, a long tassel on here. So check that video out. It's the potion bottle video where we make a small potion bottle together. And then what remains to be done is this buckle would be glued on the side here, like so. So we'd glue it there, and then when we've distressed these, we would add that so it looks like a page. So I'm just going to go and ink these bits, and that will be the demo, guys, because like I said before, but I will explain how I've done this, that and the other. So let me just get some ink. She says, best laid plans. Come on out, wherever you are. Oh, there we go. We're throwing it around. So let me get an inky brush. There we go. So just some tea dye, vintage photo, whatever you have to hand. And we're just going to go and age. Doesn't have to be too neat, because you're going to go in with a lighter and then you're going to go in with the darker. And especially if you're doing this one for Halloween, you might actually want to go in with black edges. So just keep going, you know, and then you can go in with a slightly darker. So this is your walnut, and then you could go in through the edges with your walnut there and distress them up. So really just go to town. Okay, so I think we'll actually have a bit more of this because it's a warmer tone. Yeah, we want it to look old, like it's been sat on the shelf. So that'll do for that one. I'll get this one all inked up. It doesn't have to be too tidy. Ordinarily you would blend in from the edge and you would take your time, but we just want it aged. And then you can go in a bit darker. Okay, one last one. Apologise if we're rocking on the camera there. I get carried away and I forget you're up there. Now you'd spend a lot more time distressing than myself. You know, I am just ploughing on here because you don't want to watch me inking and inking and inking. Right, so we'll put that to one side. Okay, now you could go in there with a little bit of black as well to make it look a little bit more spooky. But we're just going to leave it at that. I'm just going to wipe my desk down because if I don't, I'll end up in one heck of a mess. You know what it's like, guys. You forget a bit of ink, and then before you know it, you've put another piece of paper down, and then you wonder why you've got some vintage photo everywhere or whatever colour you're using. Right, so that's us tidy. So now you can see it's picked up those lines more. so it looks more like pages. And we're going to add our little strap. Now you could have distressed this with your mousses, etc. first. Doesn't really matter, to be fair. So we're going to go ahead and put that one there. Just make sure he's straight. And then we're going to cover that up then with your pages. Okay, with your, I say pages, but you know what I mean. Your faux pages. So I'm just going to add adhesive to that. There we go. And I'm going to place that down there. And then you're just going to hold that until it's grabbed. And it'll take a little while because obviously you've put lines in it, you've shaped it. So it will want to wrestle with itself until you've got that down there. You could add one of those, you know, the metal hinges that we have with the clasp that slots in. I've got a fair few of those actually in my stash. We could have used one of those, to be fair. But I'm just thinking, we've all got cardstock. We haven't all got fancy clasps. And maybe we don't want to invest in those, you know. So this is just something that you can do from home. Don't need anything fancy to do it. And I'm sure you've all got scoreboards, trimmers with score measurements, etc. And if you've got dies that make tassels, you can make your own tassel. You don't need to buy ready-made tassels. So let's glue that one down to the bottom there. There we go. And just hold that till you know it's grabbed. And then I will press from the inside out so that you can get a firm grip there. And then we'll go to the top. And we'll add adhesive there. Okay. Add that one on there. But this book would be good for all sorts of different things, not just Halloween. You could do, you could use some of your dies from your nook and do your own scene inside your own box. Do a little fairy scene for the grandchildren. Or this could be a great book for a memory book. A great box for a memory book. Okay. So now you've got your pages, top, side and bottom. So as it would look if you were doing, if you had bought a book. And then you'd add your little drawers to around about there, so that you could still open them. You're going to add a smaller perfume bottle here. If you're going to do it exactly the same as myself, the normal size one here, and I've elongated one there. So it's up to you what you put in here, how many, etc. And like I say, you could just be making this for something else. And then once you decorated this front cover here and added it to the front of your book, you'd then bring your latch over. You'd need to work out there where you wanted to put your buckle. And that, my crafty friends, is your potion book. or any book that you want to use for any occasion. Like I say, you might want to put a memory book in here. So the way I've decorated this front cover, I'll talk you through it because we're not going to make it. It would take too long. But basically I got some baker's twine and I just did little swirly patterns with it to add texture to this. And I just went around and did swirly textures with it. I glued it down with some hot glue. I forgot my own words there. You can actually use some of these artsy stones if you've got any of those in your stash to add a little bit of texture there. And I just add some wet glue, sprinkle a few of those on, leave them to dry. When they were dry and you'd got everything on there that you wanted, I would then, and at that point I didn't put the eye on. So this is just the twine, artsy stones, anything like you can do the napkin thing so it's all crinkly. And then I went in with, you probably got some of this still in your stash, but any black acrylic paint, I painted it. When that was dry, I then went in with a little bit of brown in some places to break it up. And then I decided when that was all dry, I was going to go in with the Nouveau embellishment mousse, and we used this stunning cosmic brown, and then we used the Indian gold. And this cosmic brown, oh my days, that really added the vintage look, and then this just highlighted it in places. So try not to use too much of the gold if you can. It kind of makes it too brassy then. This is the one, and just highlight some areas with this. So that's what we did to decorate that. And as for the wand, I just rolled up a piece. I'll just do it on a smaller piece of card just to show you. But basically I got an A4 piece of card and I just started curling the corner, and then I rolled it round a pencil. So I just went like this, rolled it, rolled it, rolled it. Okay. Added a little glue to secure it at its different sections. Again, rolled it, rolled it, rolled it. I took my pencil out, I glued it. I squared the end off there. And then I went round this with some of that acrylic paint. I then went round the wand with some of this baker's twine. So I secured that all the way round. And then again, I went with the cosmic brown and the Indian gold Nouveau mousse to distress it. I then went in with something like a gel medium, and I placed some of that under the bottom, and then I glued that at an angle on the book. Okay, so that's how I did that. Now the eye, as daft as it sounds, I drew round the shape of your Nouveau glue with a pencil, cut it out, got my alcohol pens and coloured in the eye. When that had absorbed into the card, I then used our Nouveau crystal glaze. I glazed the eye and I left it to one side. And then when I was ready, I placed the eye on my front cover, glued that flat, and then I went round the eye with some of this baker's twine to frame the eye. I also then went back in with the mousse to distress round the rope, and then I added the words potion to the top, and that is how we did the book. So I hope that helps. If you're unsure about anything, then you know you can always leave a message on my YouTube channel or Facebook, and I'll get back to you when I can. But I'd just like to say thank you ever so much. I hope that maybe this has inspired you to have a go. I'm hoping I might see a few on the Facebook group, on the Tonic Facebook group. I'm hoping and praying that maybe it's taken your eye and you'd like to have a go. But I'd just like to say thank you ever so much. And all the affiliate links, as always, housework, here we go, are in the description. If you'd like to purchase anything from Tonic Studios and you want to support myself in doing more tutorials, then the link is in the description. There's no pressure whatsoever to use it, but it's there if you do. So thank you guys. I'll be back with you soon, and happy crafting.